Yo, what's up, guys? Talking about the new units that were released earlier today. Couldn't make the video as of yet, but now we can. And right away, there's one thing very interesting, and let me see how that's written in game for all of those. So I'm doing on my laptop right now, still in Shanghai, which is actually I'm in my lucky hotel right now. We will see in a future video if it actually shows the real luck. But we have these Centaur Knights, and the skill one does not state what it's scaling from. But all of these Centaur Knights have scaling from speed on their skill 1. Legit, all of them. So fire has that, wind has that, light has that, and dark has that. Why is that not mentioned, Countess? Why in the first place do we still have to data mine from a third-party website what the actual multipliers are? Talking about this dude, by the way, he's seemingly very OP, but we're gonna zoom in that one for a little bit. So I think I'm just gonna go through the units in here because it gives a little bit more info about the skill multipliers as well, rather what you can already have seen in game. So starting off with the water one, we are looking at 104 bases, which is pretty nice in the first place. This one seems to be a little bit less interesting. We do have a Oblivion for 2 turns. We're gonna go that up to 100%. And we also have when another ally is attacked, you go for a counter attack with a 25% chance. So it's a little bit like a Wind Monkey vibe, but then Wind Monkey, rather than stunning, he's gonna go for an Oblivion. It's not that bad, but I also don't claim it that good. Like, as a 4-star, I don't really see the use of it that much. We're also looking at the leads of crit rate lead, which is definitely not that interesting, and it's also crit rate by element lead. So it's definitely not that much of an interesting lead in the first place. So moving on to the next, which is the fire one, which is an ignore defense. So the S2 is slightly different. It has a 3-time multi-hit, and we have a branding, and then we also have decrease the speed. And decreasing the speed actually makes this deal more damage as well, because when attacking on your turn, which is very important so team-ups don't work, which is a good thing, otherwise this thing will be hella busted already, deals damage that ignores defense in proportion to the attack speed difference, and increase your attack speed for 1 turn. So this definitely is a Vio angle right there. But this also does mean that he's self-supporting for getting his passive to a higher stage in a next round, which is definitely very strong. Plus, he's ignoring defense. So in this case, it seems to be that his skill 1 and skill 2 are working like the Rigna skill 2, which is the Siri, which is definitely very, very strong. 104 base, not the super highest of attack out there, but I've seen this thing hit like 140k on a Nigong with some setups. So we're definitely going to try this one out later of how that looks like, because that is seemingly one of those angles is like, is he going to get like a hot fix? Because he's seemingly pretty OP. Then we have the fusion one. I think that, yeah, this was the fusion one. So we have the S2, same as the fire with the branding and that kind of stuff. Sure. And then we have increased damage dealt in proportion to the enemy's max HP. Yep. Increased damage dealt to bosses by 50%. Sure. Only weird thing is, we're stunning on your skill 1, and you're dealing more damage on your passive. You don't need stun against bosses. So that's kind of where I'm like, I'm not too sure about it. Also, speed scaling in most PvE things, not that crazy. Most of the time, you're not going to go that much speed on it. I could see this being used in the R5 of water, especially in more beginner accounts. But the thing is, you can also not make this perfect AI to brand because he has no reason to be a perfect AI on brand. So he will have the typical shitty 70% chance to actually do the right skill, 30% chance to do the wrong skill, and if you go lower in HP, it will up in more. So would be nice if he were to do this a lot, but yeah, he's just simply not going to be that guy. So is this one that useful? I would say, in honesty, probably not really. Moving on to the light one, which is seemingly a little bit more interesting, but we also have the multipliers right here. So what does the light do? We actually have a increase your crit rate and attack the enemy to deal damage, ignore defense, which always is like people, ooh, ignore defense. That's really good. But let's right away compare it to a different ignore defense. Let's take one of the simple examples of a Bethany. So Bethany has ignore defense if you have 4 buffs. We're all familiar with that. But we're looking at a multiplier of 2 times 1.9, which is 3.8. This unit has a 3.3. That's already lower. So maybe it's better for base stats. Well, for base stats, we do have a 922 versus a 780. That's a really big downgrade. We have in speed a 120 versus a 104. A really big downgrade. The thing is, which we do have is a crit buff, which is pretty nice itself, and you don't have to get 4 buffs on it to actually get to the threshold to always ignore defense. Sure, that makes sense. Or do you need 5 buffs even? No, we need yeah, you need 4. So yeah, is that therefore that crazy? No, it's actually kind of lacking in damage already. So is this one that interesting? No, actually not really. He seems interesting. Maybe a slight buff will make him interesting, but he's not that crazy. So far, Fire one seems very good. Then we go into the Dark one, which is not this one. Dark one over here. Once again, similar style. S2 is the Oblivion. Then we have a Spear of Thunder. Attacks the enemy 3 times to deal damage increase to your attack speed. So speed scaling skill 1 and skill 3, which is always nice. Wait. Why is this not showing the multiplier of speed scaling in here? I'm not too sure if that is actually because these are just straight up what is data mined, so they don't make that shit up. Might it be that this thing is not actually speed scaling and this thing is... I have no clue. That seems like a pretty interesting mess up, but... yeah, okay, in proportion, inflict continuous damage and decrease. Might be an okayish unit. Doesn't seem crazy good, but might be an okayish unit. Moving on to the 5 stars. 5 stars, we have the Arcane Weapons. So, first of all, we have Cecilia. Cecilia goes for skill 1. We'll have Glancing. Glancing goes up to 75 rate. So, we have that for all units, 75 rate of Glancing skill 1. Definitely not that bad. Skill 2 is attack all enemies for stun with a 50% chance. If the enemy already has a harmful effect, stun will be a 100% chance. 120% chance. Still missing 15% chance of the time, sure. And then we have the third skill, which is attacks all enemies 3 times to decrease their defense for 2 turns each hit. Increase damage dealt for each harmful effect. So that makes you a very good defense breaker because this is a triple hit defense breaker, 100% activation. That is arguably one of the highest, if not the highest. Yeah, that's on par with an Asima. So odds of this missing a defense break is legit 0.1% or something like that. We're looking at the base stats of 99 speed, not that high, high accuracy over here. So he's definitely just the main defense breaker, and that is mainly all there is to this one. Nothing too crazy, but it's okay. We got a leader skill of 24 on that. Nothing too crazy once again. Also has no reason to perfectly high on the third skill. So let's move on to the next. Fire one is already a little bit more interesting because we're looking at a global 24 speed lead. So let's look at what skills we have. It is also support type. And are these also support types? Are you support type? You're actually an attacking type. Yeah, I was looking at the base attack, and the base attack of this one looked a little bit higher. How much is your hit on the S3? 1.6 times 3. If we compare that to, let's say, a Moor, what is a Moor S2 looking like? Moor S2 is 1.5 times 3 for an S2, and does have a passive in there. So it's not the highest of hits if we compare that to, let's say, a Moor, and base attack is a little bit higher than a Moor. So that's kind of what you're looking at that moment. Keep in mind that you could death break on the first hit, and therefore you do a lot more damage. So, and you also have the more damage in here. So could be a pretty substantial AoE hit. If this thing had perfect AI on the S3, he could definitely be clearing waves, 100%. But it's just, he's not gonna do it. He's just simply not that guy. But yeah, moving on to Fire. Skill 1, same. Skill 2 is also same. Skill 3, very lengthy. When you deal, or when you take fatal damage, harmful effects are removed, the only mechanical flame remains for 2 turns. I guess that's a special debuff or something. Use the Rendering Claw, which is a skill on the left over here on all enemies. When you gain a turn. While on this mechanical flame stage, you gain immunity against inabilities. You cannot counterattack, but you cannot attack together. Sure. You cannot be defeated. Okay, sure. So it's kind of like a surviving last mechanic, passive, whatever. Could be an arena defense unit. 24 lead arena defense. I kind of see the vibe on that. Maybe a replacement for finesse and arena defense, but then again, it's not a 33 lead, and most of the time on arena defense, you're preferring a 33 lead over a 24 lead. Plus, this one is not going to do as much damage because of low base stats over here. Also, where the hell your accuracy going into? Crit rate accuracy. A little bit awkward one with low attack to go crit rate accuracy, but sure, I guess. I'm not feeling the fire one that much, I would say. Moving on to the light one. Wait, did I skip the wind one? No, wind one is selected in there as Light one. This is the really weird one from what I've seen, where I was like, yo, is this just written wrong? So first of all, we have a different skill too. Attacks the enemy 2 times. First hit removes all beneficial effects with an 80% chance, goes up to 100. The second hit defense decrease with a 30 chance. Wait, second hit decreases, okay, with a 30 chance, and increase the cooldown with a 30 chance. So we got like 100% chance on a 50 chance on a 50 chance, which already sucks. I don't like these numbers at all. But then we have the passive. When attacked by an enemy, decrease your attack bar first in proportion to the HP to be lost. Recover the HP of all allies when you start taking turn. I really don't know. Like, I was talking to Shambi and a bunch of others on this one, and I'm like, is this going to decrease your attack bar, but you need like a raccoony kind of state to take attack bar or to get attack bar to actually get your healing in? So you're countering yourself? What is even that supposed to be? Like, what the hell is even that? I have no clue, man. That thing is just like, I would say, like, if he increases attack bar for how much damage he gets, makes sense. But decreases? I'm not too sure. Maybe we're all missing something, but looks like a very weird one right there. Moving on to the Dark one. Dark one has the S2 of also the AoE and kind of mechanics, sure. And then we also have Dark one damage is decreased but increased for each harmful effect. If your HP is below 50, then the same attack will be used once more. So then you go for 2 attacks. To be honest, sounds pretty ass. Like, Loki sounds really ass. Like, both L&Ds sound absolutely garbage. I don't know. But then we have the Wind one. And the Wind one is seemingly more interesting because we're already looking at an Awakening into Speed. And Awakening into Speed is always like, yo, okay, we're talking. So what do we have? We have the skill 2, which is attack the enemy 2 times, remove the blah, 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 and that kind of stuff. So we have a strip into Death Break into cooltime increase, but low rates. But I could see these numbers going from 50% to a 75% in the future. But we also have a skill 3 is attack all enemies, decrease their duration of the beneficial effects for 2 turns, and block them from having harmful effects for 2 turns. So this, by how it's written, should counter Hey Gang, which is interesting because it's just lowering the duration. It's not a strip. And then it's placing above block, which is a really nice counter against a bunch of things that work on a strip, because this is not a strip. It's just reduction of the duration, which is kind of nice. Plus, it's a 114 base on a... Yeah, I could see this one being good. So, which one would I would say is good? I would say Wind one on the net 5 seemed pretty interesting. L&Ds on the net 5 seemed really ass. I could see some use in the... where was it? The water net... water net 5 maybe. Fire net 5, I'm not really feeling it. As mentioned, L&D's pretty ass. And then in the Centaurs or whatever they're called, I would say light might be something that people would be like, ooh, ignore defense, but multipliers are ass, so no, it's actually not that interesting. But one that is seemingly very interesting is the Fire one. Fire one is supposedly doing a shit ton of damage, so we're gonna figure that out. How much shit ton of damage can we do on this one? Okay, so cannot really get the recording fully to function as I would like, but this is where... Okay, so can't really get the recording fully to function as I want within the frame, but let's just do it this way. Let's add in this one, and someone, Guilty of Mine already did the testing. You need 200 extra flat speed over the enemy to go for the full ignore defense, whereas Rigna is just 100 extra speed, if I'm not mistaken. So you can, of course, add that by all kinds of sources. So the thing that we're going to do right now to get that while not having to invest too much into it is just simply add an Adriana, and I think we're just going to keep in the crit rate lead just to make my life a little bit easier. And then we're just going to add some runes to this thing. So we're hitting something that has pretty much absolutely nothing. A way that you can, of course, do that is by speed increasing effects, because with speed increasing effects, you're going to get a lot more damage going in. Let's go for this. Let's go for that. And then let's just add in pretty much the runes of that normally Ian is using, but then in the right state. But then also a little bit more crit damage focus, because we're getting the crit rate from this thing itself already anyway. Okay, let's do it like this. So we're fighting something that's incredibly slow. We have a lot of crit damage. We have the crit rate. We have speed increasing effect of 50 to get extra speed from our speed buff. So with all of that, we should be aiming towards like the 200 extra speed because we're fighting a unit that's like 0 speed in this case, or close to 0 speed. Let's see how much damage we're actually dealing on this, because I've seen people do a 140k on a skill 1 before, but let's see how much this is dealing already. We were, oh wait, missed it because I was looking at the pause button more than anything else. So once again, when going in for skill 1, thing went a little bit too fast. Skill 1, how much? 90k on a, okay, I was somewhat expecting more, to be honest. Maybe on a defense break it's just simply more damage still, or maybe I don't have enough speed to get to the 200% right up. Could be a thing. Maybe I should add a little bit more speed. How much are we dealing for an S2? Yeah, that's a good bit of damage. Wow. Okay, let's add a little bit more speed to him. Okay, easiest way to add more speed is just simply this. We're definitely downing the HP by a lot. Is that the right way that I want to do that? No, that ruins actually. Okay, simplest way, adding more speed is just lowering the crit damage, and that will definitely do a fair bit more for the rest of it, I guess. We'll see. Let's see if let's see if we do add in more damage. Definitely have a big of a speed gap. Yeah, and that's also where it shows ignore defense. If it says the state of the ignore defense, you know that you're at 100% ignore defense. So 112k over there, not bad. That's a lot of damage right there. You definitely need a lot of speed over your enemy to actually get these kind of hits in. But the thing is, you have this every turn, whereas with a Brigna, you only have that on your S2, not on your S1. So this thing, is it an angle for like a nerf right away? I'm not too sure, because of course, if you're fighting something that's like similar speed as you're not ignore defensing that much. But if you're fighting a heavy speed gap, he's doing a shit ton of damage. Well, that's all for this video, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. See you as always in the next one, which is going to be summoning on these units. Let's see if we can pull them. And let's see if I can finally break the chain of currently sitting at 860 LD dries. Already did 40 more. Did I get something? Did I not get something? You'll see in the next video, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. See you later.